What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of In the Crosshairs, presented by Line Sniper, your definitive source for sports betting content and in-game analysis. I'm your host, Ali Melendez, coming to you live from inside the gorgeous Line Sniper studio. Now, earlier this week, we talked the latest in MLB, NBA, and gave you the rundown on the PGA Championship. And today, we are back to give you more of the latest info and, of course, best bets of the week. Everything you need to know to be smarter right here on In the Crosshairs. Now, and bet smarter, obviously, that's literally what we do. But of course, if you want all of that good information, all of our best bets, and you want it even faster, just head on over to our social media and drop us a follow. Then be sure to head over to our YouTube and subscribe. And of course, we will take care of you. Now, today our expert team of analysts is here to run you through the lineup of sports for the rest of the week and help you guys make a little money, hopefully. Now, to talk basketball, we have Sam Dusenberry here. He is going to tell us about this weekend that is just stacked with games for the freshly returned NBA. Now, Joey Knish is joining us once again. And of course, this time he's here to talk a little football. So we'll see what outlooks he has for the upcoming NFL season. Excited for that. And we have our resident combat sports expert, Dave Milhouse, here. And he will tell you everything there is to know about this weekend's UFC Fight Night. And of course, give us a little info on next week's UFC 252 event. Guys, there's a lot to cover today, if you haven't realized by now, so don't go anywhere. And of course, let's not wait around anymore. Let's get right into it and start today's episode off of In the Crosshairs. Now, let's start with football, because that's where I want to take it. So starting with our guy, Knish, the NFL season is right on the horizon. Fantasy drafts are starting up in some leagues, and we have training camps getting more and more into their full schedule. Obviously, there are a lot of COVID precautions, of course there are, but there's still a lot to talk about in the NFL for sure. So with that being said, I want to bring in our NFL expert, Joey Knish, to talk a little football with us. Knish, great to have you back, man. How are you doing today? Talk to me.
What's happening? Little pigskin on a Thursday. We're just getting into it. The opt-outs are about to, hopefully nobody today, none of the big timers have opted out today as far as, so hopefully we can make it to midnight. And then we'll know full rosters going into the season. And with a little luck here, have full season NFL football.
Well, I know I am so happy that you were on the show because I want to talk about football in the season. There is still, it's a little bit away, and I know we're all just dying to get started there. But Knish, training camps have been going for a little bit now, and the rookie players were the first ones to their respective team camps, most of them getting around in late July. And Knish, I wanted to ask you if you've heard or maybe seen anything out of training so far. Like, do you have any rookie player props you like, or are there some players to watch before the season actually starts? Talk to me.
Yeah, so there's a couple of offensive rookie of the year futures that I got my eye on going into the season. The first one that I liked, and those prices are still out there, was Michael Pittman, wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. They took him high. He's the type of character guy at USC. He was a team leader, team captain, is a guy that's going to go into the fall camp, mature. He was putting up a ton of production at USC. The thing I like is the Colts, T.Y. Hilton on the lesser side of his prime. They don't have a ton of other options. I think Pittman's the type of receiver that can come in and have wide receiver one production from the jump. They've got a great offensive line, great infrastructure, great coaching staff. Colts have all the things that I'm looking to buy on, and Pittman fits in as what I would say was their biggest need on the entire roster, which was another weapon. He's a wide receiver one. I'm seeing 40-1 out there. Even if you shop around, you might get a little higher. But for me, that was probably my favorite one of the offseason. That's one I bought on a couple of places. The second one that is the one that I'll be looking on for the training camp scoop and seeing what kind of run is. So you've seen the Clyde Edwards-Helaire team. He's now upwards of chalk. You've seen some of the Jonathan Taylor, who we mentioned as part of that new Colts nucleus. The one I got my eye on is J.K. Dobbins, who's sitting around 25-1 at DraftKings as a guy. He's going into the best rushing offense in the NFL, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. The issue you would have is carry splits. You've got Mark Ingram there. You've got Gus Edwards. You're worried about, is he going to get enough of a load to make a run? I think that's one where if you see an Ingram injury or a COVID situation, or basically you need one of those guys in the Ravens to go down to get him a little bit more workload, he's got the skill set that he can come in, be productive. He can pass protect. So he's a guy who's going to be able to stay on the field for some third downs. I think he's the best running back on their roster, bar none. I think he's better than Ingram, better than Edwards coming into it. And he's a guy that's one of the running backs that hasn't been steamed yet, that I think if you see him getting a little work in camp, and we'll see, we're not going to have a full preseason to know, a lot of those splits. So the rookies, I know people are thinking they'll be a little bit more behind. He's one. Keep an eye on some camp reports. If he looks good and blown up, that's a price I'm going to buy on before the season, around 25-1.
Okay, lots of names there, but I'm going back to the University of Southern California grad Michael Pittman. Now, a wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. If he gels well with Phillip Rivers, it could be a big first, of course, year for Pittman, and Knish is betting on that for sure. So I'm excited about that. Now, as always, we want to watch how these rookies can come in and maybe bring some fire. That's what we want to their teams. And of course, a lot of these rookies will be filling in for some of these players that are opting out. Now, Joey, we're seeing opt-outs like basically every day, and on pretty much every team has players sitting out. Today is the deadline for opt-outs, and of course, with everything we've seen, Knish, we have teams missing a lot of players. The Patriots are a notable example, leading the NFL in opt-outs. So Knish, with these gaps in the rosters of the Jets and especially the Patriots, how do you like the Bills' chances in the AFC East this season?
I might be on a little bit of an island here. I'm still not a huge believer in the Buffalo Bills, even when, don't get me wrong, does the Patriots opt-outs have play an absolute factor and give them a nice leg up here? Yes, no doubt about it. But I think it's very difficult, if you look in the NFL history of defense, to put up the type of defensive season the Buffalo Bills had last year and then reproduce it the next year. So you've got to look at, okay, where are they going to find, if their defense even falls off a bit, is Josh Allen going to be able to make that next step and take the offense to another level, to where that the defense isn't going to have to be, a top 3 unit to carry them into? I just don't see it. I'm not a Josh Allen guy. I've never been a Josh Allen guy. I don't see, even with the Diggs addition, I still don't see their offense, making this gigantic leap or something, or making them a contender. Obviously, there's some concern with the Patriots, but I'm still not a Bills buyer. If anything, I thought this team was a year away. I like the start of the infrastructure they've built in Miami down with the Dolphins. I like their coaching staff. Again, Tua, do I think he'll be ready to come in and, produce at an elite level? Probably not, with the lack of preseason games, the injury he came off of. But if there's a price that I'm going to buy on to go into this season as a little bit of a long shot, it'll be, and this will be my strategy across all the divisions, just with the amount of uncertainty we have in this NFL season. But if there's a price in that division I'm going to buy on, it's the Dolphins 8-1. There might be some 10-1 out there still, but I think 8-1 is pretty widely available. I just do not believe in the Bills, even though they've got a little bit of a leg up with the Patriots falling off a bit. I would rather take my chances with a longer shot in the price and the Dolphins getting there a year early than I would backing this Buffalo team. What you're seeing is, plus 115, plus 120, any of that, regular season wins 9. Do I want to buy on any of those things? No. So for me, if there's any value, it's still fading the Bills.
Okay, so even with the Patriots rocking a weakened lineup, Knish doesn't like the Bills' chances in the AFC East. And if you do take Joey's advice on the Dolphins,
I know that people have been on the Bills, but I'm still not going there with Buffalo.
Fine, fair, but if you do like Joey's advice on the Dolphins, remember that he says that it is a long shot. So it is going to be a weird NFL season to be sure, but I'm just looking forward to one sport hopefully playing a full season. Plus, who knows, this might open up a chance for some underappreciated teams to shine through, and we can only hope for that at least. But Knish, I did want to ask you about win totals for the upcoming season. So I know you have your bias for the Cowboys, but Cowboys aside, are there any teams you see that are being undervalued or even like overvalued for win totals? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the one, probably my favorite under that's currently on the board is the Titans under. I saw DraftKings had an under 8.5 at plus money, plus 107. That to me is a team that and when you talk about being able to what you can replicate year over year, the run that Tannehill went on, and then the fact that, Derrick Henry running wild, do I see that offense being able to maintain that level? Absolutely not. I also thought the defense overperformed. I'm not a big fan just throughout their roster in general. I thought last year was kind of the classic overperformance. They had a lot of things go well, and what they hit their kind of peak of what I thought they could accomplish. I am 100% selling the Titans going into this season. I would be shocked if they were able to replicate. And that, when you're sitting out there talking about 9 or 10 wins, I think the Colts are the absolute cream of that division. And going into the AFC, the schedule that doesn't set up too favorably, for my opinion, there, with having to play a first-place schedule going into this season. The Titans are a total sell for me. I like, there's some 9s out there. I would prefer the 8.5 under or plus money. This is a ceiling team for me. That's 7 or 8 wins. They're probably my biggest fade on the board right now.
The commissioner of the NFL says the Titans are overvalued, so take them under 8.5 regular season wins. So to be fair, I don't see the hype behind the Titans in general, but Knish, as much as I'd love to give you all the time in the world to break down every week and every team in the NFL, we do have a show to get through. So we are going to step away slightly from football and step right on into the octagon. So I am super excited. The UFC returned to U.S. soil on the first for a fight night in which Derek Brunson won by TKO in just 3 rounds. And we are back for another fight night this Saturday with the headliner match of Derek Lewis against Olynyk. So, of course, we have the UFC 252 next week that we'll talk about with the huge matchup of Miocic versus Cormier, and that's going to be so exciting. A lot to cover with UFC. I can't wait to get into that. Luckily, we have our combat sports specialist, Dave Milhouse. So, Dave, how are you? You must be so excited for UFC 252.
I'm doing good, Ali. I'm really excited for 252. Not so much excited for this fight night this weekend, but it's good to be back in the octagon in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada on a Saturday night. Good enough for me.
Hey, Dave, I'm just glad that you are here. We have a lot of fights to cover, so you're the man to talk to. But let's get right into the main event, Lewis versus Olynyk. So now Derek Lewis walking into this fight as the number 4 ranked heavyweight in the UFC, and Alexei, of course, is sitting at number 10. Now, Dave, we can read stats literally all day. I have them all in front of me. But you know that these fighters everything about them. You know them much more than I do. So it is time to definitely talk to you, pick your brain about the best of the best. So who do you think is going to win on Saturday night? I need to know your thoughts.
Well, if I had to pick a winner, I would say Derek Lewis is the play, but at the current odds, it's not a good bet in my opinion. Let's just go right through some of those stats we were talking about. Well, first of all, we can expect Derek Lewis to get the knockout, or we can expect him basically to get choked out. I think that's what every fan is thinking. But let's pretend there is a chance that this goes to the scorecards, and that's where the stats will kind of come into play. But we see Olynyk lands more strikes per minute at 3.72 to Lewis's 2.53. He lands a higher percentage at 50% to 49. He has a better defense for significant strikes absorbed, 47% to Lewis's 44. But where it really gets interesting is in the takedown game. Alexei Olynyk averaging 2.41 takedowns per 15 minutes. He lands them at a 46% clip. And that's against a lot of UFC fighters in his sample size, where you can assure that most of them have a better than 50% takedown average. And then you see Derek Lewis sitting at a 53% career UFC takedown average against him. So he's basically given up 1 out of 2. Olynyk's getting 1 out of 2. Lewis is probably the worst with takedown defense that Olynyk's had to face in a long time. And we see Lewis is also horrible on the ground. He's one of 7 UFC fighters to allow over 40 career grappling advances, meaning when you're on the ground, the fighter advancing positions on you. And when you are taken down and you get advanced on, that's usually a situation where you could risk losing the fight right then and there, if not definitely in a bad position to win the round. So in Derek Lewis's last 5 fights, if we just look at those, he's given up 11 takedowns and 12 advances on those 11. You take a look at a guy like Alexei Olynyk, and that's not the kind of guy you want advancing on you. So, I couldn't resist this. I do think Lewis knocks him out in about a minute or two, but I set the line at minus 150, and I was able to get Alexei Olynyk at plus 220. When we started doing show notes last night, Olynyk was plus 180. I felt like there's still a decent amount of value there. Now we're seeing about plus 160. Personally, I would pass on that, but I wouldn't be looking to play Lewis at anything under minus 150. So give me Alexei Olynyk, I guess, for the value. Lewis probably KOs him in 2 minutes, but if he doesn't, look out.
Yeah, there are a lot of people online favoring Derek Lewis in this match, and obviously you can see the odds, you can say the same, but see the odds saying the same, but Milhouse is saying, do not count the Russian out. So, of course, Olynyk is the only fighter in UFC history to win a fight with the Ezekiel choke, and the speed that he can put an opponent into submission with is actually like super, super insane for a heavyweight competitor at least. So, Dave, we could probably talk about the main event for like another 10, 20, 30 minutes, but we've got a lot of fights to talk about on this fight night card. We've got Darnush versus Holtzman. We've got the women's bantamweight matchup. We've got a lot, and of course, a full preliminary card of matches. So, Dave, outside of the main event, what is the best bet you see on this card?
I didn't hear a word you said. I think your mic was off, but I'm going to fully assume that all translated to what's my next best bet. And if it's not, I'm sorry, but we're going to go with Nasrat Haqparast. This guy's fighting a debuting UFC fighter whose striking is not too cute looking. Nasrat averages 5.25 significant strikes per minute. He's landing those at a 47% accuracy with a 74% defense rate. He's plus 21% in his striking efficiency. That's about the top of the UFC right there, and he's doing it in the lightweight division, which is absolutely stacked. Now, mind you, he did this against average UFC competition, but average UFC competition is better than Alex Munoz, okay? And Munoz is a collegiate wrestler, so he's going to be desperate to get these takedowns. It's basically a matter of will he be able to get them and hold them. I don't really see it happening. His takedowns look all right. Nasrat has a 78% takedown defense in his career. He hasn't given up a takedown since his UFC debut, where it became pretty obvious that's the way to beat him. It seems like he took notice of that and has really been working on it. So although he hasn't been fighting a lot of wrestlers, I do think that he will be able to stuff enough of these takedowns to just kind of dance around, smack this kid's head around, bounce it around for 3 rounds, or set up a nice knockout. So you can get Nasrat Haqparast at about minus 230 right now. I think this should be minus 300, maybe even minus 350. If he can stuff the takedowns, it's honestly going to look like he should have been minus 500. So a bit of a deal here. Great play for your accumulators or parlays. I'm playing them straight. Give me Nasrat Haqparast all day.
All right, Milhouse, can you hear me? Are we good to go?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Good. I'm glad
Did
we're
that
back.
answer your
and thank
question,
you for
Ali?
that.
Sorry.
Yes. No, we had a lot to talk about, but that was right on the money there, Dave. So thank you so much. So Milhouse likes some lightweight action on the undercard, so look to bet on the German Nasrat Haqparast. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it at the first name. We got Nasrat, of course, to beat the 6-0 Alexander Munoz. So should be a good event for the fans at home to win a little money, hopefully. But Milhouse, it would be crazy of me to have you on and to not talk about next week's event, the big UFC 252. So we've got Poirier versus Miocic for the heavyweight title, which is amazing. I'm excited. Dave, what is your insight looking ahead at this event? Have you already decided where your money's going? Talk to us.
Okay, well, I have not decided where my money is going, and we will talk about this next week on In the Crosshairs after I do a little bit of my due diligence, but just at a glance, I have to favor Cormier here at the pick'em line. He dominated the first fight. He dominated the second fight until the second round. Miocic made some great adjustments, started hurting him to the liver there, and Cormier was too out of shape. He got tired, and he didn't fight as smart as he should have, and he got knocked out. So this has been going on in his mind, probably on replay since it happened. Cormier is a very emotional guy, so I know that he's been working hard for this one. He's got slightly better tools. Like, that's not even fair to say. This is such a close fight. It should be a pick'em. But I just think Cormier is a little bit better. His hands looked a little bit sharper, and his wrestling's a little bit better. So I'm going to have to go with Daniel Cormier at a glance. But we're going to talk about that next week, and maybe I'll have completely changed my mind by then.
Absolutely. And this is, of course, as we mentioned, the third matchup between reigning champion Miocic and challenger Cormier. Now, the first time they met, Cormier won in the very first round. And then in their second meeting, Miocic took the title in the fourth round. So now, of course, there's a rubber match. Dave is looking at a repeat of the first match with Cormier walking out as the heavyweight champion. Well, that's what we said before, but we'll see what happens again after we talk about all that good stuff. So, all right. There you have it, guys. That is everything you need to know about the UFC this week. Dave, we will definitely try to get you back next week. Sorry, I apologize. I had a little hearing issue with the mic before, so I got to the end of it, and then I realized that you did not have your money on anyone yet when we talked about something else. But regardless, super excited to talk about more of that in depth next week. Milhouse, we will definitely hear from you in a little bit, so definitely stay put where you are. For now, let's shift focus again, this time to the NBA and that playoff picture that is becoming clearer and clearer by the day. Very excited to talk about basketball here. The NBA season has just restarted, and we are at the point where every game can literally make or break a team's chances of making it into the playoffs. 13 teams have qualified for the playoffs. It is a fight on all sides of those seeding positions, and the Washington Wizards are somehow still not out of the running. So there we go. But now to break down the NBA for us, I definitely want to welcome onto the show for the very first time, Sam Dusenberry. So Sam, how are you today?
Oh, this is the perfect time of the year for me. I mean, coming down to it with the playoff crunch and the bubble and the action that's inside the bubble, it's a lot going on. The AAU style up and down action. You can't be an NBA fan and not like what's going on in Orlando. So I'm stoked.
Absolutely, me too, and I'm so glad to have you, Sam. So let's just jump right into it. We've got two games currently going on. We have games tonight starting as soon as 6:30, which is super soon. And of course, we've got the Clippers versus Mavericks, and then the Blazers versus Nuggets, and the Lakers facing off against the Rockets. There is a lot of basketball going on, but tell us who you have to win tonight.
Well, let's go with Clippers Mavericks, right? Clippers have to take these games seriously. They can't do like the Lake Show and kind of take some games off and rest some guys. They have to go fully at it. They're currently the number 2 seed. They have the Nuggets and the Utah Jazz right on their heels, both teams within the game and a half of that second seed. So they have to take this game seriously. When you have two top 10 players in this league and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, you have to win these kinds of games because Luka and Porzingis have been playing lights out for the Mavericks, but that's literally been it for the Mavericks. Nobody else has stepped up. Tim Hardaway Jr. hasn't really stepped up. Seth Curry hasn't really stepped up. So the Mavericks, who I thought could have been a sleeper in this bubble, really have dropped the ball here by not getting enough support to their two big stars. So the Clippers have to go in there tonight and take care of business, get the W, smash the over, smash the money line at whatever you can get for it.
All right, so Sam says Clippers beat the Mavs. Denver does not have a chance, and of course the James Harden-led Rockets will overcome the Lakers. That is plenty to like in the games tonight, and of course this Rockets-Lakers matchup that everyone's excited about. Gonna look forward to that. And I actually did have a question though about that game in particular. So with the Lakers now securely in the number 1 spot, there's a lot of speculation online that the Lakers are gonna take it easy against the Rockets tonight. So I wanted to ask you, of course, what do you think with LeBron on the bench? What do you think Anthony Davis plays tonight? And if so, does he play? How does that affect player props for this game? I want to know all of your thoughts on that.
Well, the fact that it's player props when it comes to Anthony Davis, you want to go with points, obviously, but he's still listed as probable. So I'm not sure if he's a strong enough play to put some real money on tonight. When it comes to the Lake Show, Frank Vogel has been very, very vocal about he's going to test some lineups, change up the rotation a little bit, and try to get other guys in rhythm. So any kind of normalcy within the Lakers from here on out for the last 4 games of the season, throw it away because we have no idea what's going to happen with this Laker team. So me personally, I'd stay away from any type of Laker prop bets or anything like that. But if you look on the other side, when it comes to the Rockets, if you were early, if you were smart and checked those morning lines, you could have got James Harden as a player prop with 8.5 assists. I smashed that over quick, fast, in a hurry. Now with the news that Russell Westbrook is going to be out, that line just jumped up magically, 1 more assist. So that's why I got to stay ahead of the game, wake up every morning, check those lines, and trust your gut and go at that early action. But as far as Laker player props, stay away because Vogel is resting guys. Bron is out with a groin issue, and AD is probable. forget about it.
All right, so pick James Harden to go over 8.5 assists. That's a pretty safe-looking bet in a lot of games. And if the Lakers are taking it easy tonight, well, hey, that looks even better. So there you go. I mean, if I'm LeBron, I definitely would want to sit out, even though he is. It's good. Just rest up, LeBron. You're good, and don't deal with Harden and the Rockets. And of course, Sam says don't look for LeBron to play. So also avoid any of those player props that depend on LeBron and AD showing up. So there you have it. It is tough out here to be the number 1 seed. LeBron and the boys from LA still have a long way to go before the finals, obviously. And Sam, while I have you, I did want to get your opinion about the playoffs, but let's back away from the top seeds and look at the fight to make it into the playoffs. Now, we have just a handful of teams still in that playoff contention. Sam, I want to get your take here. Who is actually going to take home that 8th seed on either side?
Well, to start off, I think you go with the Eastern Conference. That one's a lot easier to figure out. As you mentioned earlier, I don't know how Washington is still mathematically involved in this whole setup, but you have to go Orlando Magic, even though the back half of their schedule isn't as easy. They got 4 games left, and they're going up against the Sixers, the Celtics, the Nets, and the Pelicans. There's maybe only one winnable game, but just so the math is going to be between the Wizards and the Magic for that 8th seed. And even with Jonathan Isaac being out, I still think Orlando Magic on paper have enough talent. They have a better coach than what the Washington Wizards come to offer. So I think that one is kind of pretty much a layup. In the West, though, that's where it's really dicey. And if you're Adam Silver, you have to be sweating bullets. The fact that the Pelicans can't even beat the Kings, can't even beat teams that they're supposed to beat with the easiest schedule of the teams that were coming into this bubble, and they're losing and giving away games left and right because Adam Silver wants Zion, LeBron first round, and Alvin Gentry and those guys can't even get that done. So I thought the Pels were going to try to make it happen and get it done. But now you really have to look at teams like Portland with Carmelo, who is the 17th leading scorer of all time, and possibly by next week could be the 15th leading scorer of all time. He's turning back the clock, playing like Syracuse Melo, Denver Melo, New York Melo, and he's really being that big third piece. That's the thing. When you have a Dame, you have a CJ, now you're bringing in a Melo. A lot of teams don't have 3 guys who could be a bona fide 20-point-plus scorer. So Portland, you're going to have to shade heavy because the Pelicans have just spit the bid here, and it's really looking bad because Adam Silver does not want Zion to go home, especially with all the hype that we've seen.
Oh my goodness, thanks for the take there. Can Zion and the Pelicans battle back into a playoff position? Sam says we definitely thought it was a possibility. And then after today, we're not really sure there, but we'll keep an eye on them. And you can also count on the Orlando Magic locking in 8th for the East. But that is going to do it for our NBA discussion here. Now we are going to bring all of our hosts back in and, of course, have a little team discussion. So I'm ready if you guys are. Welcome back, welcome back. We got Sam, Milhouse, Knish. Now that we have all of you here, let's talk about something that is a little weirder. So it's not something we would usually cover, but that might be definitely pretty important to our bettors. So earlier this week, news came back about a sportsbook error at FanDuel that led to bettors not receiving their payout due to the lines being too far in favor of the bettor. Now, FanDuel did claim that this was caused by computer error on their end, but this has definitely sparked some talk about a similar error back in July where MGM didn't pay out bets due to an internal error. Now, guys, I just want to talk about how this looks for bettors who might obviously avoid a bet if the lines look too good. In this sort of thing, too good. Where do you have people taking bets? Where the lines are, do you have people taking bets where the lines are off where they should be or the lines are just plain wrong? I mean, is it the fault of the sportsbook for posting incorrect lines, or does the blame fall on the bettors for seeing clearly a wrong betting line and still expecting to be paid on what's basically an exploit? Knish, I have a very strong feeling here that you are going to have a strong opinion, so you can go ahead and start us off with your opinions.
No, I mean, it's just something that, just when I'm heating up when you're talking about it and, setting the table for me, it's just something that's happened in the offshore world for years and years and years, where the standard became anytime there was a mistake line or somebody input something wrong, there was no accountability. They were just able to void everything. Domestically, you had, this has happened in Vegas for a while, where if something was off and you were able to get a mistake line, or somebody made a mistake, a risk guy made a mistake in the back room in Vegas, they had to honor it. Due to gaming, they had to run. Now you've seen what's starting to be, to me, is the sense of domestically, the shift is going from we have to honor everything to now sports books trying to get out. And here's why I'm passionate about it. Because, yeah, I understand, if a guy comes in past post, the game's already over, does it look scummy? Yes. In this situation, the guy goes to the counter. He brings cash. He says, I want to bet Cincinnati +5. The supervisor not only takes his bet, asks, does he want more on it? If you have a supervisor that can't understand that the line should have been +0.5 for stock, not +5, and he's offering the customer more money on it, and now you want to blame the customer or not pay him? Absolutely ridiculous. Listen, I know it's case by case and everything, but the issue is once you start letting sportsbooks go down this road of being able to void and get out of it, it becomes the standard and commonplace. And then it's open Pandora's box where they can void anything that they want that's even a little bit off. For me, pay the man his money. Ridiculous that they're even talking about voiding this.
All right, thanks, Knish. Go ahead, Sam. Take it away with your thoughts.
Look, I'm a big fan of taking advantage of every price glitch available. I mean, one of the best trips of my life was because of a price glitch. I went and flew to Dubai for $200 and something round trip, nonstop because of a price glitch, and Emirates had to honor it. So for me, if I wake up in the morning and I'm checking them early lines like everyone else is probably doing, and I see something that looks too good to be true, I'm going to make that bet. You're going to have to tell me you messed up because I want that money. That's free money. And who in here doesn't want free money? So for me, price glitch always goes to the company, but I'm going to force you to admit your mistake and give me my money back or pay me what you rightfully owe me.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sam. All right, but let's go to Dave Milhouse. Mr. Milhouse, take it away.
I mean, I'm with both the guys here, but just to add on to it, if you're a casino in Vegas and you want to complain about market share and people using offshores, what better way to keep people than to honor the bets that you allowed them to make in the first place? Now, if you're using a local bookie and you're trying to take advantage of glitchy prices, that to me is totally different, but a big company like that should be honoring it. They should want the players there, even if it costs them, because we all know in the end, the more players you have there, the more money you're going to make. It's bad business. Straight up, it's bad business. And the offshores are going to continue to flourish if they don't fix this kind of crap.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, thank you so much. And we are almost done here on In the Crosshairs. But before we go, I have to get your best bets of the week. So like usual, guys, any sport, any game, anything, just give me the one bet you are taking no matter what this week. Sam, new guy first, because we're polite over here, but where's your money going?
I'm going to go on Sunday, Portland versus Dallas. Dallas, as I talked about earlier, has really had it struggling. They've been struggling big time defensively and finding that third score. So Portland coming off, they're going to need this game. They cannot play around. They're trying to get within 4.5 games of that 8 seed to force that play-in tournament. So they're going to go and do whatever they got to do with the scores they got, the size that they have, and Nurkic and Collins coming back with Whiteside blocking everything. I'm going to go big time heavy. The Blazers over the Mavericks, smash that money line, and definitely, as you should be doing with most games in the bubble, take that over as well.
All right, Sam, thank you so much. And Milhouse, what do you like for this weekend? Talk to me.
Well, my best bet would be Nasrat Hakpras, but we already went over all that, so I'll leave you with the one other bet I have pending right now, and that's the Mavs tonight, first half over. I got it at 117.5. I don't know what it is now, but I'm sure it's still a go. The pace has been incredible. If they don't shoot bricks here, I could see this being about 124 points, and I made the line more like 121. So first half over in the Mavs game, best bet would be Nasrat Hakpras, however.
Cool. Thanks, Dave. Knish, take us home, man. What should the fans at home be betting on?
I'll throw you a little curveball. I'm going to the track. I'll go a little NASCAR action here to throw it off. The Xfinity Series this weekend. Austin Cindric, he's a favorite. Today we lady. You can find him out there between plus 150, plus 160, plus 170, kind of in that range. He's been dominant this year, and this is the type of track that he really excels at, especially if he can get on the pole here in qualifying. We think he's one of those guys that once he gets the lead, he'll be going. I like it this weekend. I played at anything over plus 100, but I think especially if you see him qualify well, that'll be down. He'll be minus 150 and close something in that range. So I'd grab it now early, plus 150 or better.
All right, we got Knish driving right into the winner's circle there, I see. Well, there you have it. If you only take one bet this week, our team says make it one of those three. Choice is totally up to you. But that is going to wrap us up for this week's edition of In the Crosshairs. Sam, Milhouse, Knish, thank you guys so much for your awesome advice. I hope all of you watching at home found that information very useful, and I hope that it scores you some cash. And if you need any of that expert advice, again, you can always find this show on our YouTube channel, Line Sniper HQ. And while we're there, just subscribe to us. We would really like and appreciate that. Now, we'll be back on this Tuesday and Thursday, same time, same channel, so to give you even more of the best bets and, of course, the best betting advice, game-by-game analysis, and all that good stuff with our pros. Until then, this has been In the Crosshairs, brought to you by LineSniper.com, your definitive resource for sports betting content and in-game analysis. For the team here in the studio, I'm Ali Melendez, and thank you guys so much for watching. See you soon.